I will point out there's actually the peppered moth story is not in here. Henkel's diagrams are not in here, but there's a ton of data. There's a ton of experiments and diagrams, and I mean, 150 years of study of evolution, and it's still progressing. We still do it because you know why? We're scientists. He complains that, things change, we're making new discoveries. Hello, we're scientists. That's what we do. We study nature, right? And so far, except for creationists making proclamations that we're all wrong because they don't understand it or they have some different explanation, the evolutionary biology is the best we got, and until they can come up with something better, that's what we got to teach our kids. You teach the best science.
Okay, now we're going to move on to a closing statement from each of the speakers. This is a 5-minute closing statement. If you just want to close with what you have to say there. And then after that, we'll do the questions. We'll take a little break after the conclusions so we can get the questions in order here. So you have to go to the bathroom or whatnot. You can do that quickly. And then after about 5 minutes, after they conclude, we'll start with the questions.
Quite a few things are obviously left hanging like it is in every debate I've ever done, but this isn't time to cover everything. It's probably better to do point by point instead of minute by minute. But he mentioned about isotopes as evidence for evolution. He's mentioned that several times tonight, actually. I'm assuming he's referring to carbon dating or potassium argon or uranium to strontium, uranium to lead, or lead-208 to lead-206, or uranium-235. There's quite a few. But here's an example of how things actually work in the real world, okay? Not the imaginary world. Living mollusk shells were carbon dated 2,300 years old. They're still alive. Freshly killed seal carbon dated 1,300 years old. It just died. Shells from living snails carbon dated 27,000 years old. Proceedings of the 12th Nobel Symposium said, if a C14 date supports our theories, we put it in the main text. If it does not entirely contradict them, we put it in a footnote. If it's completely out of date, we just drop it. Well, then here more recently, Anthropological Journal of Canada said, no matter how useful it is, the radiocarbon method is still not capable of yielding accurate, reliable results. There are gross discrepancies, the chronology is uneven and relative, and the accepted dates are actually selected dates. This whole blessed thing is nothing but 13th century alchemy. It all depends upon which funny paper you read. One part of a mammoth dated 29,000 years old, another part of the same animal dated 44,000 years old. We can go all day on this radiometric dating if you'd like to talk about that. In the last 2 years, an absolute date has been obtained for the Gandong beds. It has the very interesting value of 300,000 years, plus or minus 300,000 years. We could talk a long time on that. We will not. Okay, let's see. He also mentioned about plate tectonics. This is interesting. I think students really ought to be shown this. Geology and earth science are one of my favorites. I taught earth science for many years. Let's just talk a little bit about Pangea in the few minutes I have left here. See, if I had known about the 5 minutes, I would have had a little more stuff together. Okay, Pangea. Students are taught that all the continents used to fit together. They say South America and Africa seem to be a perfect fit. Here's the evidence they use to support this theory. The shapes of the continents seem to fit. Similar fossils are found on opposite sides. And it's true, similar fossils are found on opposite sides of the ocean. It's also true that those same similar fossils are found all over the world. So this could be just as much evidence for a flood. Okay? He says they'll say there are magnetic reversals in the mid-Atlantic ridge. Here's what they don't tell you. They shrank Africa at least 35% in order to make them fit for your textbook. They took out all of Mexico and Central America. Hey, señor, ¿qué pasa? ¿Dónde está Mexico? Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala. They also don't tell you that they twisted 2 continents one way and one the other way. They also don't tell you what I think ought to be obvious to a kindergartner. If you take the water out of the oceans, you will notice there is dirt underneath. People say, do you think the continents were ever connected? What do you mean? They still are. What do you mean, were they? The low places are full of water, that's all. Okay? It's not like it's hollow under the oceans, think about it. So, anyway, I like earth science. I don't question the fact that the plates are moving, okay? I've been to the San Andreas Fault, the Hayward Fault, the New Madrid Fault, the Golden Fault, none of them my fault, but I've been there, done that, studied it, okay? There's no question the plates are moving. The question is, can you interpret this little bit of movement we see over billions of years and make some kind of conclusions from it? I think you're going to have to jump from science to religion when you do that. You're going to take a little bit of evidence that we see, something moving just a little bit, which is true, and it causes earthquakes and volcanoes, and I'm familiar with all of that. But that doesn't prove it's been going for billions of years. I would encourage you students to open your mind just a little bit and think about possibly, it could be, just like when people were taught the earth was flat, and later they found out, oops, that's wrong. And somebody taught, oh, well, big rocks fall faster than little rocks because Aristotle says so. That was taught for 2,000 years, and it's wrong. And some of you are being taught in this university that you evolved from a rock 4.6 billion years ago. Well, it's wrong. You were designed by an all-wise, super-intelligent creator who loves you and would like to forgive your sin and take you to heaven, but if you want to go to hell, that's your business, okay?
All right. We'll now move on and give Dr. Weisenberg 5 minutes to conclude.
Okay. Well, here we are. When I was communicating about this with a colleague, and I said I was going to be engaged in this debate, I referred to myself as the sacrificial lamb, and I suspect that I am because obviously most of you are here. Yes, well, and I accept my role. People, of course, are entitled to believe anything they want, and I accept that. I don't have any problem with that. And the scientists of the world who study these things are going to continue to do evolution. They're going to continue to do geology. They're going to continue to do physics. They're going to continue in the battles that rage constantly in science over the interpretation. Plate tectonics was not something that just popped up. It was something that was proposed, ignored, and then all of a sudden, pieces fell together. The pieces came together. And that's what scientists look at. They look at all the pieces. What the creationists do, they love to say, oh, it was the big flood, and then they'll pick out some selective data. You mentioned the reversals of the Earth's magnetic field, which was the actual evidence by which we established plate tectonics. I don't remember anything in the Bible about reversal of the Earth's magnetic field. I don't know, maybe it's there, but what you've got to understand, those of you that are, and it's obvious that most of you here came here to hear Dr. Hovind, keep this in mind, that you rely on science, and you rely on science for the world we as scientists have created for you, right? It's a pretty nice world. We put together a lot of great things in this world. We've cured a lot of diseases. We've created some great artifacts from, video games to big screen TV to fast cars. Take your pick, or maybe those aren't great things. But science does that, right? It's given us antibiotics. It's given us heart transplants. Now, you can believe what you want, but scientists are going to continue to do science. They're going to continue to study the world. They're going to continue to debate and argue with each other about what the evidence shows. And until the creationists can offer better explanations, can come up with some mechanisms that offer actual, believable results, because I'm sorry, the hand waving you saw doesn't pass for real science. The real scientists are the ones getting their hands dirty, working in the lab, and I'm sorry, it's not just numbers. It's a matter of respect. I respect the people who come here